the new child, who I call, and other people are now calling, the digital native, as opposed to the digital immigrant, who's grown up in a society that has incredible stimulation. Now, the stimulation is not just digital in the sense of, you know, all the toys that we play with from the moment we're born now, but also in terms of the highly processed foods that kids are eating. So they're stimulated both inside and out, you know, and they grow up adapting to that. And it's not necessarily great for them when it comes to sitting still and paying attention quietly. The requirements on children is much greater. All the more reason that they have to be nutritionally stable. Well, the latest statistics are anywhere from 10 to 20% of our children in elementary school are suffering from some form of attention deficit disorder. That number is huge. And the reason why there's such a widespread, 10 to 20%, is nobody knows how to really count these numbers. Nobody's really reporting it. The only way they can do it is based on the drugs that are being sold. And so that gives all kinds of spurious information. So I suspect the numbers are much higher because there are people who are choosing not to treat with medication, or they're not being reported in the same way. I'm finding the numbers in my general pediatric practice to be ridiculously high. If that was an infectious disease, it would be considered an epidemic in our society. When you see a rise like we're seeing in chronic disorders, the cause is not a single thing. The cause is complex. It takes in our lifestyles in the United States right now, and the way we view our children as consumers, literally as consumers. And when they consume, then we blame them for consuming. One of the most interesting discoveries that was made over the last 10 years was that in the gut there are serotonin receptors and dopamine receptors. These are chemicals that happen to exist in the brain. And we realize now that the gut is a brain and is connected directly to the brain. So much so that they now have a field that's come up called neurogastroenterology, which is a field literally of linking the brain and the gut. So when you ask me the question, what does food have to do, or how important is nutrition to some of these chronic problems that I'm dealing with, it's the portal to everything. Our nervous system, our inflammatory system, you know, everything, our immune system is related to the gut. Everything is located in the gut. I deal a lot with autism, and some of the miracles I've seen in autism, and I wouldn't believe them unless I saw them myself, were related to just simply changing diet. We do all kinds of fancy stuff with kids with autism, and I must say the thing that makes the most difference is altering the food that they eat. So the question is, how long can you go letting the kid go on strike because he hasn't had his chicken nuggets? How long can you as the parent go waiting? Because they will not starve themselves. Eventually they'll come around. They wear you down because you feel guilty. And that's the problem here. It's not about the kid, it's about the parents. You know, it's not just what you eat, it's how you eat, and where you eat, and when you eat. There was a study that just came out that showed that having kids come to school, do some walking exercises, and then all have breakfast, and then go to some classes, and then have recess, and then have lunch, raised IQs. I think one of the greatest ways to get kids to eat is to get them to help in the process of cooking or growing the food, so that it's not just being shoved at them like they're lab rats. And then you may see them eating much healthier. Having kids share what they're eating with each other in a way of understanding choices might be good, and maybe eating with teachers, not in separate places, so that everybody's together eating as a family, making it part of the learning process. You know, making it not a break from school, making it school. The quality of the food is always important. How you define that becomes difficult. You know, the question of why is organic food better, for example, or local grown food that wasn't shipped thousands and thousands of miles. We know that there is a beneficial aspect nutritionally to these foods. It's also tastes better. So the quality of the food, children are like parakeets in the mind to me. And so they pick this stuff up much earlier than we do. If we can expose them really young to what good food tastes like, then they'll identify bad food much earlier and say, no, I can't eat that. But that has to start in nursery school.